Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Daybreak. I'm Colin Winder.
And I'm Juliana Brock. In this week's episode, we'll hear about the controversial celebrity that's facing a lawsuit, as well as Congress's decision to ban a certain video sharing application.
And of course, Jules and I are here to keep you updated on all the latest in your city and campus news. Also, be sure to stick around until the end to see this week's ray of sunshine.
Stay tuned. We have all this and more coming up. Wake up and smell the coffee, Pittsburgh. Daybreak starts right now.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we start sharing your campus news, here's your weekly weather update with Nick Konopka.
Thanks, Colin and Juliana. Spring has certainly sprung here in Pittsburgh, and the weather has gotten significantly more bearable in these past few weeks. As we go into the month of April, we'll be doing so with weather that's in the mid-50s to mid-60s. If your favorite kind of weather is when you can comfortably walk around in a t-shirt and jeans, maybe a light jacket, then you're going to love what's going to come to our city. Though there may be some chances of precipitation, this week is generally going to be a smooth, partly cloudy 7 days. That's it for our weather this week. Now back to our hosts.
Thanks, Nick.
Now let's hear from reporter Addison Deal about the infamous actress that is reappearing in the headlines for all of the wrong reasons.
On Gwyneth Paltrow's recent lawsuit, here's Addison Deal.
Actress Gwyneth Paltrow took the stand at her trial this past Friday for an incident that occurred in 2016. The incident in question, a skiing accident. The star faced a collision with 76-year-old Terry Sanderson at the Deer Valley Resort in Park City. The collision resulted in 4 broken ribs, a brain injury, and several other serious injuries for Sanderson. Sanderson is suing the actress for $300,000 in damages, claiming Paltrow, quote, knocked him down hard, knocking him out, end quote. Paltrow, however, is claiming Sanderson was uphill, skiing into her, and, quote, plowed into her back, end quote. Paltrow is countersuing for a symbolic $1, a fact that her lawyers frequently mentioned throughout the trial. The key question of the trial is to find which skier was downhill and had the right of way, leaving the other at fault. Both are claiming that they are the downhill skier. The trial featured accounts from both Paltrow and Sanderson, as well as Paltrow's skiing instructor about the day's events, timelines, and specific details to be laid out in front of the jury. The trial is set to continue in the coming weeks and could possibly include testimonies from Paltrow's own children, who were nearby when the incident occurred.
Thank you, Addison.
It's time to talk about the news that's closest to home for us students.
Here's your campus news, Point Park.
Get ready as the Career Readiness Center sports its new look. The Career Readiness Center resides on the 5th floor of West Penn. However, it will now be moved to the Student Center's basement, giving a new, spacious, and welcoming opportunity to faculty and students. The construction of the center will start in mid-April. Because of this, students will have to adhere to using the back entrance of the building located on First Avenue, as construction will block off the main entrance. In replacement of the basement's old YMCA pool, there will be private offices, interview rooms, an open main area, and classroom to give off a professional aura. With this new space comes many more opportunities.
Point Park students, it is time to vote for the Student Government Association positions. SGA represents the student body of Point Park and works for our rights and privileges as students here. The open positions are the president, vice president, and senators. The 2 presidential candidates are Senior Frankie Bracey and Senior Mark Palumbo. The rest of the candidates for other positions can be found on Point Sync. Voting is open from now until April 1st, so get voting.
With the end of the semester comes the end of the semester blues. Good thing the University Counseling Center are hosting multiple online workshops for students. These workshops are free and open to all students with no scheduling necessary. These workshops will be run by the UCC therapists. On Wednesday from 3 to 4 p.m., Ashley Boback will host Campus Connections, where students having trouble adjusting can connect with others and receive support. And on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m., Francine Caldwell will host Stress 101, where students can learn strategies and get resources to cope with stress. To get more information, a link to these events, and many more to come, you could contact their email at counseling@pointpark.edu or their phone number at 412-392-3977.
I love that they're doing those stress seminars, or
I know. It's
I don't know
really
the proper word for
beneficial.
that. I know, I like that because it is really stressful this time. So I like that they're acknowledging it for starters instead of just being like, you're fine.
Right.
And then they're giving resources.
Actively doing things for the students, which is really nice.
Right, I love that. Speaking of actively doing something, tell me more about the new office.
Oh yes, the new office. It's going to be so great. You know, 5th floor. I just went there recently.
Yeah.
And it's a little, honestly, dingy.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
and the YMCA basement with the pool has not been used, and you just pass by it every time you go into the
Right.
main office.
Yeah.
And now it actually will have use. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for. They had images on the website of like the new floor plan and everything. It looks beautiful.
That is so great. That's exciting. I also like the way they're using that old space that was kind of just, had no use, and now it has a new use.
And
I
talk
really
about
like that.
improvements, like what's happening
Right.
with SGA.
Oh my gosh, I love how they're doing all of this. I mean, I personally don't have like a person that I'm voting for, but I think that all of this is really cool. And I think the SGA is a really great thing for our campus to have. I mean, it's pretty common there's always student government and stuff like that, but I just love that it can have an actual impact on our school and it actually does something. So that's exciting, voting for
Yes.
positions and seeing what everybody can do and bring to the table. It'll be cool.
When we're back from break, we'll share with you what fundraiser is helping the Pittsburgh community raise thousands of dollars for animals in need.
Plus, I'll update you on the birth of some adorable birdies right here in Pittsburgh.
All this and more coming up. Daybreak will be right back.
Hey.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. My name is Craig Furkowski.
Tonight, we'll cover all your international, national, and local news.
Australia is one of the most biodiverse countries on the planet.
Over 8,000 items are to be auctioned off at Pittsburgh International Airport on October 22nd.
Last Thursday, the House committee investigating the January 6th attack chose to subpoena former President Donald Trump.
All this and more coming
up
up
on
on Newsnight.
Worried about your friend but don't know how to reach out?
You could say how are you or get a fake tattoo. You could ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat with them in VR. It's so good. If you think you should check in, yeah, you should. Whatever gets you talking.
Reach out to a friend about their mental health.
Whatever gets you talking.
Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back to Daybreak. It's time to share some updates about what's going on in the Steel City.
Without delay, let's get started with your city news.
Pittsburgh Police's Biscuit Bingo event raised around $65,000 for animal shelters and rescues. The Biscuit Bingo is an annual event, and this one was the 25th. Last year's event raised over $58,000. The event took place this past Saturday on the South Side, and the proceeds will go to numerous organizations, including the Pittsburgh Squealers, Bow Wow Buddies Foundation, and Animal Friends. Officer Christine Luffy and her fellow group of volunteers led the organization, and the police wrote on Facebook, quotes, "We would like to thank everyone who attended Biscuit Bingo for their support and generosity," end quote.
April 30th will bring an end to an era as the last McDonald's in downtown Pittsburgh will close. The McDonald's on Stanwix Street outside Market Square will be closing after the company decided not to renew the lease. Nicholas, the man who owns the building, explains the company had a variety of issues that led to them closing the location. He theorized that the lack of restaurant traffic during and after the pandemic and other customers' concerns led to the closing. The owner also stated his indifference to the building harboring another fast food restaurant, as a specific location is not compatible to the fast pace and mobile-centered service these places need. Say goodbye to the McNuggets and hello to whatever lies in store.
Following up on my story from 2 weeks ago, the Hayes Bald Eagle's Nest is continuing to welcome eaglets into the world. The first eaglet of the season was welcomed on Sunday afternoon, and now the second of the 2 eggs hatched this morning around 7 a.m. The egg was in Pip all day yesterday, meaning it was just beginning to hatch, and it did not take long for that baby to come and join us. The 2 eggs were laid on February 17th and February 20th. The eggs traditionally take 35 to 38 days to hatch once laid. This is exciting to keep track of as we watch their little eagle family expand. I love keeping track of the eagles. It is so adorable. It's so cute that they have the live stream. Sometimes the live stream can go maybe not as planned if they bring something.
They're eggs.
Right, if they bring something something up to the nest,
they
a
might
little
disturb.
Right, but it's really cute to see how their family expands and how they're all doing. I like keeping up with it.
They're baby birds. I know. Everything's just so cute.
It's new life. It's so cute.
New life comes to new closings.
I know, things have to come to an end at some point, I guess. I'm really sad about this McDonald's closing.
This McDonald's was a saving grace to many students here.
I have been there many times, and it's just, McDonald's is always really good. You can't really go wrong with the McDonald's being close by, so...
And it's really affordable too, being right next to our college campus.
Right.
It was so good just to walk down the street and get some affordable food, no matter how good or bad.
Yes, and it was really good too. It always kept me full. And honestly, speaking of full, this actually has nothing to do with being full. That wasn't good, but the biscuit bingo was so adorable. That is so cute.
I'm so glad they got to raise all that money for them.
I love animal shelter. Well, I don't love animal shelters, but I love doing things for animal shelters because I'm a big animal fan. So the idea of being able to help those furry friends is just, I love it.
So good.
So cute.
Before we share this week's ray of sunshine, reporters Samuel Parator and Nick Kanaka are here to discuss some exciting reports.
First up is Samuel Parator sharing this week's Sideline Slice. Sam?
Thank you, Kaliana and Juliana. My name is Samuel Parator, and I am back with yet another edition of the Sideline Slice, where I catch you up on how the Steelers currently look as free agency starts to die down a little bit. The Steelers have surprised many fans this year with the number of signings they've made so far in free agency, which is normally a time where they're usually a bit quieter. They started things off by losing their top cornerback Cameron Sutton to the Lions, so they filled that hole by signing veteran cornerback Patrick Peterson from the Vikings on a 2-year deal. Peterson has allegedly previously mentioned that he wanted to play about 2 more years, so this contract seems to fit that wish. He brings a veteran leadership to a young cornerback room that will definitely be valuable. They've also made a couple of moves to build up the offensive line depth. This included signing guard Nate Herbig, who is primarily a reserve but a solid pickup, on a 2-year, $8 million deal, with $4 million of that being fully guaranteed. The other big upgrade comes from signing across the state guard Isaac Seumalo, who, with that feared offensive line last year from the Philadelphia Eagles on a 3-year deal, He does have some major injury history in 2020 and 2021, but he did start 20 games last year and was a major force on that line that can help bolster our struggling run game. Lastly, and most recently on the guard signings, they signed tackle LaRaven Clark on a 1-year deal as another solid depth signing. It is pretty clear to see the influence of new assistant general manager Andy Weidel, who has tied to all 3 of these previously mentioned players above. Staying on the offensive side, they also brought back tight end Zach Gentry for a 5th year, which is a great move as he remains a good complement to Pat Freiermuth and seems to get better year after year. Switching back over to the defensive side, the linebacker room has seen much turnover. They lost linebacker Devin Bush to the Seahawks, Robert Spillane to the Raiders, and Miles Jack was released. To fill those gaps, they have signed Elandon Roberts from the Dolphins and Cole Holcomb from the Commanders. These moves have seemed pretty decent, and they're heavier on the run-stopping side, and our bigger issue is pass coverage, so we don't have to put too much pressure on the secondary. There is still work to be done, and hopefully some other linebackers are out there to make some moves. Some other good defensive moves have been the re-signing of safety DeMonte Casey and defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. These are pretty big moves in addressing the defensive line and the secondary struggles. As of now, these are the big moves, but I'm sure they are not quite finished yet, so stay tuned to hear about the rest of the moves as the offensive rolls on. That's all for me. Now let's send it over to Daybreak's resident short king, Nicholas Konopka, to PolitiSmack this week's news.
Welcome back to PolitiSmack. I'm Nick Konopka. In a 5-hour hearing last Thursday, TikTok CEO Shou Chew received incoming from the 50-member House Energy and Commerce Committee. Democrats and Republicans alike questioned Chew on the access China's national government has to Americans' data, with many questioning a Chinese law that requires companies to cooperate with the Chinese Communist Party for matters of national intelligence. It is for that reason many in the Congress are worried that China is using this data to manipulate Americans who use the app. Chew would often point to TikTok's data privacy initiative known as Project Texas, which ensures that all TikTok user data will be stored in servers run by the US-based software company Oracle. Chew said that all American data outside those servers will be deleted by the end of the year. Chew also emphasized that many issues that TikTok faces are shared by other social media companies, and that many issues with data security and content moderation are not unique to the app. Aside from TikTok's connection to China, members of the committee also attacked the CEO for allowing content that has led to the death of some teen users. One member of the committee, Republican Gus Bilirakis of Florida, presented footage from their For You page of Chase Nasca, who committed suicide last year at the age of 16.
Would you share this content with your children, with your 2 children? Would you want them to see this?
Larry took. You gotta kill yourself.
Oh, word? Like right now?
And then I'm gonna put a shotgun in my mouth and blow the brains out of the back of my head.
Cool.
This is a cute story. My brother, who is addicted to painkillers, blew his head off on the State Street Bridge. Bam! Now hold on, it gets better. No letter, no goodbye, nothing.
Got a question. If I died, would you miss me?
The parents of Chase Nasca have recently sued TikTok and its parent company ByteDance for providing him with this content. Both parents were present at the hearing. TikTok had its own representatives in D.C. last week, having flown out 30 creators on an all-expenses-paid trip to shed light on the app's benefits, which according to them include educating young people, advertising small businesses, and organizing young voters. The creators were joined in front of the Capitol by Democratic Representatives Jamal Bowman, Mark Pocan, and Robert Garcia. So aside from an all-out ban of the app, which the Biden administration has threatened if the company remains under Chinese ownership, the heads of the Energy and Commerce Committee have proposed a data privacy law that would apply to all apps and websites that collect its users' data. The bipartisan bill would limit the data these companies can collect, keeping it only to the information they need to run the service. The bill would also require data brokers to register with the federal government. And while these high-profile committee hearings often result in little more than partisan grandstanding, the united front that Republicans and Democrats presented last week may actually signal a chance of a law being passed, especially with Congress's bipartisan opposition to China. That's all for PolitiSmack. Now let's send things over to your hosts for this week's Ray of Sunshine.
Thanks so much, guys. In case this is your first time joining us or you need a little refresher, Ray of Sunshine is our way of starting your day with a smile and inspirational quote.
It's obvious that everyone wants to lead the best life that they can and hope to stumble upon the answers to knowing what the right thing to do is. But life isn't that predictable, and there's no one single correct way to live. This week's quote talks a bit about these feelings.
Our quote for this week comes from Lindsay Aaron and reads, "The secret to life isn't about knowing the future or having the perfect roadmap, but rather having faith for the future in the spirit of a pioneer."
Well, I love the pioneer aspect because we're pioneers.
We are pioneers.
But I really like that because you can't predict anything. I mean, you can plan, but you have no idea how the cookie's gonna crumble until it happens.
Yes, I think planning is the best part, but you need to take the pressure off. There's so much pressure in planning and thinking about your future and your possible career paths and paths in general, and it creates a lot of pressure in you.
Right, it really does. And I mean, nobody can take what's meant for you. That was a really great great quote that I saw recently. Like, it's true. Like, if it's meant to be, it'll be, which is a song, and it's cheesy, but it's true. I mean, everything falls into place. Like, think back to like whenever you thought nothing was going right, like whenever we're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna end up happening? And then look at where we are now. It all just kind of fell into place.
I know, and with taking things by the future, you think, oh my gosh, my future, we forget to sometimes go, let me take it day by day. Let me plan out my day. Let me get through the day, and I'll get through the next day, rather than going, what about in 5 years? I might, it's just a lot of pressure you put on yourself.
It's so true. I mean, you have to focus on right now. Like, you got to stop. I mean, obviously planning ahead is a good thing. I mean, I love planning and making lists and everything, but it really, you do just have to enjoy right now.
Yes. Have faith in your planning. Have faith of your abilities. Have faith in yourself, and obviously just push through like a pioneer.
Right. That was so good. It doesn't get better than that.
Thanks.
You got it. That's how you got to do it. So that's it for this episode of Daybreak. Thank you all so much for watching.
You can catch clips from all our previous Daybreak episodes on our YouTube at UView Television.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Daybreak PPU. Until next time, I'm Juliana Brock.
And I'm Colleenne Winder, hoping your news is great news. Have a great week, everyone.